Hey everyone, today we are talking about MRP or order replenishment. Now, just a quick definition that means you have sales and demand, you have purchase orders, and you have inventory, and you're trying to figure out what the missing pieces are, what you need to purchase, what you need to expedite, and what you need to potentially cancel if you already have satisfied the demand. Um, let's dig in. So we have here our Austin, Texas transactions. If you've done any of my other Excel videos, you'll recognize this as um, uh, you know purchase order data. So you got our open purchase orders, right? You got parts, descriptions, quantities, unit of measure, prices, PO dates. This column here is particularly relevant. I'll highlight it just real quick. Is the expected date, the expected delivery date, and then as well as vendor information to the right. Here we have our current inventory, part numbers, description, inventory, current numbers, and then demand. We have a weekly demand number for each part number. So I am assuming that in your situation or in your company, you have these three things kind of readily available in your ERP system. Demand might be a little tricky because this is all forecast data, but you're going to have something similar to this. I don't have locations. I'm not dealing with like retail. Hey, I have 100 locations. I need to forecast for each, all 100. Nothing like that. It's one location, kind of global demand, or yeah, one location. And then I'm doing weekly. Some people need daily, some people need monthly. That's fine. Just use the principles here in that you're learning for Excel to apply these. So as I mentioned, the three objectives is need to purchase, need to expedite, and then potential cancellation. So we already have enough demand. So we're going to create three tabs to start. We're going to create three tabs, need to purchase, right? The other thing I'm not really taking into account is lead times. Again, just for simplicity, for this exercise. And yeah, there's a lot you could enhance on this. The goal here is just to be basic and get you the skeleton so that you can adjust to your needs, right? So, need to purchase. Okay, so this one is relatively simple. So we're just going to use this unique uh, function here, and we're going to look at our open POs, and we're going to just do open unique like that. Perfect. And this is our item number. Description, we're going to use an X lookup. And let me just hover over this for now. So unique with a specific range we want. We're going to use X lookup, and one of the ways I like to describe X lookup is what are you looking for, where are you looking for it, and what are you bringing back. Okay, so this is really easy. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this item number. Where am I looking it up? Open POs, and I want column A. That's where I'm looking for that part number. And then what am I bringing back? Column B, right? You can double click, hover over the green, double click it down, and now you have your all your descriptions. Okay. Now, one of the things I don't like when you're creating an MRP tool is to have formulas live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, except for the numeric. If the numeric, that's fine, but the part numbers should be static. So I'm going to do shift to the right, shift control down. On a Mac, it's shift command down, but for PC, shift control down, and then I'm going to control copy, and then I'm going to paste special. I'm going to hit this drop down menu next to paste, and then I'm going to click paste values. Okay. And what that does is it pastes the value and gets rid of the formula. So now we know there's no formula here. We don't have to worry about things getting mixed up. Okay, so we need to purchase, right? And we can look at demand and current inventory and current open POs. Okay, so there's 3 columns here really that you need to work on, and this is again relatively simple, but all you're gonna do is then quantity to purchase, just so you know what we're working towards. And this is pretty simple. It's equals your demand minus current inventory plus current open POs, right? And just, so if I had 100 and I had current inventory of 90, current open POs of 10, I need to purchase 0. If I had 5, I need to purchase 5, right? So quantity to purchase. And again, I'll just say, you know, there are situations where lot quantities, right? It's like an economic order quantity. I'm not getting into any of that, right? Like, again, this is just raw. How many are we missing gap to demand, right? So here we go. So demand is a little tricky because we have demand here on all these columns. Okay. Now, one of the things you can do, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to add up every column here. Now, if you say, hey, I only really want 13 weeks, right? I don't want everything else. That's fine. That's totally okay. You just do this, but I'm going to do all columns because I know I like to be prepared and we have long lead times, right? So sum ifs is the formula, and I'm going to sum up this entire range of dates. Okay. So column C all the way to AB, right? All the way to next February. And then put a comma, criteria range 1. So again, sum ifs, just so you understand the syntax, the logic. Where are the numbers that I'm adding up? How am I filtering? That's the 2 steps to consider, right? So I'm adding up all these columns. What am I filtering to? I'm filtering to the part number, okay? And then comma, I'm going to go back to my need to purchase tab, and I'm going to click A4. Now that did not work. Okay, so I forgot. In sum ifs, you cannot do multiple columns. That is my bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a simple sum, total demand. I'm going to add a sum for all of these things, right? And you can add it to the right, to the left, doesn't matter, right? And then I'm going to hover over this, double click it down. Again, just going to hover over this formula real quick just so you see it. Sum C3 to AB3, yeah, just for that column, right? Okay, so we got need to purchase and we have our total demand, right? So instead of doing a sum ifs, I'm just going to do an X lookup, right? I'm going to look up the item number. I'm going to go to demand. I'm going to click column A. I'm looking in column A for that item number. And then what am I bringing back? I'm bringing back total demand, right? And I'm going to click that one column. So X lookup, where am I looking? What am I looking up? Where am I looking it up? What am I bringing back? Looking up the item number in the item number column, and I'm bringing back total demand. Go ahead and close the parentheses, click enter, and there you Now I can hover over this green and double click it down. And same thing on quantity to purchase, because we have that formula in there. We got demand minus inventory plus open POs. You're gonna double click that down, right? Perfect. So next two things, we need to bring in our inventory and open POs, right? So current inventory, let's just look to see what the structure is. Looks like, and I'll tell you because I know I built this, but I got one row per part number, so that's fine. If you need to double check it, that's fine, but for us, it's an XLOOKUP, okay? And here, yeah, we got our XLOOKUP here. So remember, what am I looking up? I'm looking up the item number. Where am I looking it up? The inventory tab, part number column, and what am I bringing back? The inventory column of the inventory tab. So I'll pause here just a second so you can see the formula. Again, I'm looking up A4. I am looking in the inventory tab in column A, and I'm bringing back column C because that's the inventory column. Close the parentheses, click enter. Great, this part number has 0, and I can double click this all the way down, and you can see current inventory starts to populate. Now, if you notice, our quantity to purchases has dropped for this one, which is great. That's exactly what we want. Current open POs, this one is when we're going to do our sum ifs. So our current open POs, there's 5,000 rows, and if you look, we have 1,300 columns, or 1,300 parts. So there's definitely multiple purchase orders per part number. Okay, so at least in theory. So this one is definitely a sum ifs. Okay, so we're gonna do a sum ifs, and remember, we're gonna look at expediting in the next step. Okay, all we're doing is we're saying, do we even have the purchase orders to do this, right? So sum ifs, and we're gonna do open POs. And what am I summing? I'm summing the quantity. Okay, the quantity on our purchase order tab. And then how am I filtering this down? How am I sorting it? And how am I grouping it? It's the part number column. Okay, and the thing I am filtering it to is the item number. So XLOOKUP is what am I looking up? Where am I looking it up? What am I bringing back? Sum ifs is what am I summing? What column am I filtering to? And then what criteria am I filtering that column to? Okay, close the parentheses, click enter, and yeah, you can see. I'll just hover over here for a second so you can see what that formula looks like. Sum ifs, quantity, part number, filter the part number. Okay. Now I'm gonna hover over this green, double click it down. If you notice, there's a bunch of negatives here. Okay. And we're gonna get to those in the potential cancel stage. Okay. But for now, you have your need to purchase, okay? But there's a lot here, and I don't want to deal with filtering or sorting. I just want one list of here are the things I need to buy, right? So we're gonna scroll to the right just a little bit, and we're gonna create. We're gonna copy these columns first, right? And then we're gonna create a filter function. This is one of my favorite formulas, is the filter formula, okay? Because what we're gonna do is the quantity to, we're gonna filter to where the quantity to purchase is greater than 0, not less than 0. I love this so much. So all you have to do is hover over all of these things, right? A through F, comma, and then you're gonna filter to column F greater than 0. It is such a cool formula. I'm just going to press enter so you can see it live. Oh, it does bring back the column number, so I don't need that. Okay, so now if you notice, this one doesn't show up, this one doesn't show up, this one doesn't show up. Blue jeans purchasing 3 is the first one on this list because quantity to purchase is greater than 0. And now you have your full list of everything that needs to be purchased. Beautiful. Now, one of the things I would do before issuing your purchase orders, especially if you have a long list like this, is I would say maybe I would put in columns, and I'm not going to demonstrate this for today, but next delivery date, lead time, right, and then need to purchase by, right? And so let's just pretend next delivery date is today plus 90 days in the future, right? No, okay. Next demand date is good. Lead time is 30 days. So the need to purchase by is your demand date minus your lead time. I need to purchase by October 18th. Now, when I'm recording this, it's August. I don't need to purchase it. So what you could do is you could add a second criteria in your filter formula. And the way to do that is you, in the include part of your syntax, right? So the A through F, I'm going to filter for A through F. And then I want 2 criteria. Now this one's a little strange, just being honest. You put a multiply sign. You put criteria 1 in parentheses, then you put a multiply sign, and then you put criteria 2 in parentheses. Okay, and for that you do the second criteria, and you do less than, you can just say 9/1/2024. Now, for this one, it's all a bunch of blanks, but if you notice, let's do put the blue jeans there. If I get rid of, yeah. So once I got rid of the double quotes, so then this is the criteria. Then so it's a filter where quantity to purchase is greater than 0 and need to purchase by is less than the target date, right? And you could put today, you could put a week from now, you can put 2 weeks from now, whatever you want, right? Because hey, blue jeans, you don't need to purchase those until October 18th, and so now it's removed from the list. Now, I remember why I did that, because when you put multiple criteria, the headers do go away. Okay, so now you have your list of things that you need to purchase. Okay, great, perfect, excellent. This is good. Okay, the next thing we want to do is need to expedite. Now this is one where we have purchase orders, but we need to bring them in because we're not satisfying the demand date, right? Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to create a full calendar of events, I'll call it, right? So we're going to basically duplicate this, but the numbers in each week are going to represent the difference between demand and open POs. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, all of our parts. I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the dates. I don't want total demand at the end, and I'm going to paste that here. Okay. And for the sake of our purposes today, I am going to filter to, I need to expedite the next 10 weeks. That's fine. Yeah. I'll worry about, expediting later, but I'm just, next 10 weeks, what needs to be expedited. This is good. Okay. So we're going to create this 3 times. Okay. So we're going to call this demand, call this deliveries. I'm going to add a column here. No, that's okay. And then we're going to do this one more time, and we're going to do, undo right there, and then gap, right? And this one, we're going to add one more column for inventory. Okay, so first let's populate our demand. Now, because we copied over everything here, let's just make it easy and just copy here. Now, I'm going to show you a way to do that is kind of cool. Again, it's going to those array formulas similar to unique or filter, where you can just click equal sign and we go to the 21st. You go to demand here and you go to the 21st, and then you just Control Shift down. Okay, Control Shift down, or select all those rows and then close the parentheses and click enter. I guess there was no parentheses to begin with. And boom, it's all populated, which is so freaking cool, right? I love that. That's fun. Yeah, so there you go. So that's your demand by week, right? Oh, sorry. Next is deliveries. This is from our open purchase orders, and that goes to that expected receipt date. Okay. Now this one's a little tricky. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a sum ifs. Okay. Then we're going to do where delivery date is greater than or equal to date, and also where delivery date is less than future date. Okay, so there's going to be 2 criteria for delivery date and also item number, right? It'll be 3 criteria. Okay, so sum ifs, we're going to have 3 criteria that we need to manage. Okay, and so in R6, in your deliveries, you're going to do equal sum ifs. Okay. I'm looking at this. There's one thing that I don't have, and that's past due. So for this first column, we're going to incorporate all the past due as well. Okay. So we're going to do equal sum ifs, open POs. What am I summing? I'm summing up my quantity. Okay. And the first criteria is just part number. Let's just get that. Right. Enter. Boom. We got 300 on order. Okay. But I need to incorporate deliveries into it, delivery dates, and I'm going to do, go back to open purchase orders. I'm going to add a comma, so I'm going to do a second criteria, right? And I'm going to do expected date, and then a comma. And then for this one, anytime you do a less than or greater than, you need to put that in double quotes and then put an and sign. Less than and 819. Okay. So then this is kind of our past due. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go like this. I'm going to say past due. I'm going to move all those over, create a new column called past due, and that'll be good. Now before if I double click it down, I'm going to get a bunch of zeros. The reason is because this S5, it's looking to reference that. So I'm gonna put $signs around this S5 cell, and the shortcut is to use F4. So I'm going to use F4 on my keyboard, and that fixes both the row and the column. I'm going to click F4 one more time, and that's just going to fix row 5, which is more what I want anyway. So I'm going to click enter, and now I can double click it down. If you want, you can just manually type in the $sign. So then future columns, okay, we want to do the same thing, but I want to do where it's greater than the 19th and before the 26th, okay? And let me zoom in, actually. I always forget to do that. And I'll just double click this so you can see what that formula is a little bit better. So sum ifs, open POs tab, quantity, filter to the item number, and filter to the expected date less than today. All right, that's our past due. Great. Okay, so now the next one, we're going to do another sum ifs. And this one, we're going to build the formula in a way that we can just drag it to the right. Okay, so that's exactly what we want to do. So what am I summing? I'm summing the quantity. And before we get any farther, I know that when I try and drag it, it's going to drag the column. So I'm going to do F4, or you put the $signs before each D, each column. Great. Now the first thing, filter the part number. So column A, again, F4, comma, and I'm filtering to this part number. Great. And again, I know for this one, when I drag it to the right, it's going to keep going. So I'm going to click F4 3 times, which will fix the column, but not the row, which is exactly what I want. Because when I drag it down, I do want the row to go lower, right? But I don't want the column ever to ever change, right? So, or put the $sign before the P, okay? Comma. So then this is now when we get into our dates. Now this is a little bit tricky, and so I'll try and explain a couple of times, okay? So open POs, expected date, okay? And again, F4. I don't ever want that column to change, comma. I'm going to go back to need to expedite. Now, when I did that, it added the tab here, and I'm just going to erase that. I don't need that. So I'm going to do double quote, greater than, equal to, okay, and 819, so S5, okay? So one's greater than or equal to today. Okay, now again, F4, and I'm going to hit that twice, which will fix the row but not the column, which is perfect. That's exactly what I want. When I drag it to the right, the dates will change, but when I drag it down, the row won't change. It's perfect. Okay, I'm just going to close the parentheses and click enter just so you see what that looks like now. Perfect. Now, let's double check that my formula is working. I'm going to add one more criteria, okay, comma. And for this one, I want to do where it's less than the future date. Because again, this is all deliveries going forward, which is not what I want. I want a weekly view of this, okay? So I'm going to go back to open POs, do expected date, click F4, fix that column, comma, and I'm going to do double quote less than, and go back to my need to expedite tab, and for that, it's the future date, right? So it's the next week. Now, what you could do if you wanted to, because you know that these are all 7 days apart, is you could do today plus 7. You could do the following. I'm assuming if you have if this is months or days, just the following week is fine, right? Again, F4 twice, which will fix the row, which is exactly what I want. And I'm going to close the parentheses and click enter. Now that is a little bit closer to what I was expecting. We're not getting anything this week, but we have 110 coming in that are past due, right? And we got a lot of past dues here. So now I can drag this all the way to the right. And you can see, oh, we got 60 coming in a few weeks, and then 40 coming in was that 8 weeks. Now I can highlight all of these and then hover over this green box, get the black cross, double click that down. Excellent. So it's really good. So this is the next 10 weeks of deliveries. And the expected deliveries in that week. Okay. So, like recap what we did on deliveries, because there was a lot. Some ifs, open POs, where the item number is the same and where the expected delivery date is less than today. Okay, that's our past due. And then for everything else, I have expected delivery date, or some of the quantity where item number matches, and the expected delivery date is greater than today or equal to today, but it is less than a week from now. Okay. Now, if you'll notice, column AB, the sum and the average is 0. And that is because it is looking for a future date here, and it has none. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to do 10, 28, 24 here, and now we'll get some numbers populating. I'm not going to populate this column because, again, I don't care. I'm just looking at 10 weeks, right? I got my 10 weeks here. I just put that there for simplicity. Okay. All right. So to recap, we have our demand for that week. We have our deliveries for each week, and now we're going to create our gap. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look up our current inventory. X lookup. What am I looking up? I'm looking up the part number. Where am I looking up? Part number column. What am I bringing back? Inventory column. Enter. And I can just double click that down. Boom. Get all current inventory. And now we calculate our gap. Okay. Now I'm going to add one more column here just for simplicity, and that's going to be our past due. Okay. And I'm just going to click that and double click that down so we can know what's past due. That would be a good thing to add in here, right? Okay, so what is our gap? Now the first week is going to be slightly different than the rest of the week because the first week is establishing the current gap relative to inventory and past due and current demand. And then future is has to reference the previous week. Okay, so I'll get into this. But what we're going to do is we're going to do we're going to do the current inventory plus past due minus demand. And then for each subsequent week, we're going to do previous week gap plus new demand minus new incoming deliveries, right? And really, it's demand. Well, yeah, I want like negative means we stock out, right? So I want to look up current inventory plus past due. This is what we should have on hand minus the demand. So if the demand is higher, it'll be negative. That's exactly what I want. And then look at the previous week gap plus new deliveries and then minus new demand. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's first column. We're going to open parentheses and we're just going to, this is math here, no formulas, no crazy formulas here, just plus and minus. Okay, so parentheses, inventory plus past due minus, come all the way over to the left, demand. Click enter. Now again, for this one, we're not doing any dollar signs because when I drag it to the right, I want it to follow with me, right? Now, I'm going to double click this down, and because the subsequent weeks are slightly different, I'm going to do that here. So equals previous week gap plus expected new deliveries minus demand. Oh, that's the... Yeah, I missed the weeks there. Perfect. Oh. One thing that I'm missing here. I need to reference the deliveries from the previous week. Okay, so I'm going to assume that my demand will happen on Monday and my deliveries will happen on Friday. Okay, just for simplicity here, you can tweak that as you need. So I'm going to look at previous week's deliveries minus this week's demand. Okay, enter. Now, sometimes this happens. So you can see we're going to lose 3 of those. So I'm going to double click this down. This is good. Actually, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to drag this all the way to the right and just double check that my formula is working. That I just go to one in the middle here. So I have the previous week gap plus deliveries from last week minus demand. Perfect. All right. I'm gonna hover over all of that, double click down. And now I have a gap by week. Now I made up this data, and I clearly put way too much in our past due. Although I don't know, maybe it's reflective of your stuff. But I'm gonna do a couple of things here, right? So I'm going to conditional format any negatives, okay? Because that's what you want. You want to highlight all of the negatives. So I'm gonna hover over AI through AR. I'm gonna highlight cell rules less than 0. And I'm going to keep this light red fill with dark red text. I'm going to click OK. Oh, look at that. Training aids and instructional equipment and supplies. We're missing some, and so, but we have orders, so we just need to expedite those orders. Got it. All right. This one, maybe we can just, we have a bunch coming in. We don't maybe need to expedite all of those. We'll just push our demand out or ask our customer to push the demand out. You just go row by row and there you go. Now, if you want to filter to, if you want to filter and you don't want to scroll, all right, you want a list of everything to expedite, you're going to do, you can do a couple of different things, but if you hover over if you highlight all the column rows and click sort and filter, right? Now I want the gaps for this week, okay? I'm gonna highlight this color, right? Boom. So these are the gaps for this week, and this is what you can go tackle, right? And then you can do the same thing for next week, right? Is filter by color and select rows, and there you go, right? Now, if you wanted something for everyone, any week less than 0, you're going to do a count if. I always do ifs, sorry. Count ifs, okay? And this range, comma, less than 0. And remember, less than is always in the double quotes. And you put an and sign, 0, close the parentheses, click enter. Now you can double click this down. And again, you can remove your filter, add your filter back. Oh, that's not what I want. Highlight that row. And now you can get rid of all the zeros, right? It's like, okay, here are the ones I need to go expedite. Now, looking at this situation, we have a lot of problems. And so you can filter to 8, 9, or if you want, you can say, hey, don't show me the zeros or the ones. I want the 10s and the 9s and the 8s, right? Go figure these out, right? It's like, hey, we're going to be past due we're going to be negative for a long time. Like, we need to get these in ASAP, right? So here is the full gap per week. Again, you can adjust this to per day. You can adjust this to per month. You can adjust this to per location. You can create your demand as an aggregate of locations. You can create your inventory as an aggregate of locations. Lots of different things you can do to kind of model this slightly different. Now, the last thing we're going to do is our potential cancel. Now, I alluded to this earlier. Honestly, I probably should have just shown this to you earlier because it was pretty easy. But all we're going to do is we're going to do a filter on our need to purchase tab. And we're going to highlight all of these and then comma quantity to purchase less than 0. Okay. And I can go like that. Now, the last thing you could throw in here if you want is you can do like past sales, inventory value, and you could do something like, hey, like current demand is 96, but past sales indicate 500. So it's like, we don't really need to purchase. We don't really need to cancel the 204, right? But hey, maybe you should, right? And maybe the inventory value of this is, $50. It's like, okay, we'll just keep the $50 in inventory. Like, it's not worth the hassle of, but hey, this lawnmower riding type, demand's 11, you have 16 on order, past sales is only 10, so inventory value of the extra 6 is 6,000, and this one gets flagged red, right? So that's how you kind of build in like a potential cancellation list for your purchase orders. If you can also do cancellation fee, right? Like PO date. That's another one you throw in if the PO date was in the last 7 days, then cancel, right? Or you could do expected delivery date. Expected delivery is greater than 90 days, then cancel, right? Hey, if it's 3 months in the future, just try and cancel it, right? Like, if the vendor has a cancellation fee, don't bother, right? Like those types of things. So, that's your potential cancel. So to recap everything we've done, we have our need to purchase, we get our demand, our current inventory, our current open POs. We create a quantity to purchase formula, and then we create a filter where the quantity to purchase is greater than 0, and the need to purchase by is some arbitrary date. And again, this is just a future enhancement that you can do. Then we did a need to expedite, and for this is like a full MRP gap analysis where we have our demand by week, we have our past due deliveries and our upcoming deliveries by week, and then we have our gap by week. And then you can filter to any column specifically and look at how many weeks are at 0, or if that specific week is at 0. And now you can go expedite. Now you can go tackle stuff. So there you go. The other thing is that you can do is you can also loop in quantity to purchase, right? If this is saying you need to purchase more, the other thing you could try and do is just increase the current quantity of a purchase order. I think things like that. And then potential cancellations. You're just going to filter to the need to purchase, but it's for less than 0. And then future enhancements, you can add past sales, inventory value, cancellation fees, expected delivery dates, and just go down the list. And yeah, we don't really need this. Let's cancel that. Let's cancel that. Things like that. So hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.